You're listening to the WrestleHavoc Podcast on YouTube, where we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. We talk all that goes on in the realm of WWE and AEW every week. And now, here's your host, the one that will give you a reality check on pro wrestling, Flamin' Ricky DeReyes. This is the WrestleHavoc Podcast.
The road to Forbidden Door continues right here on AEW Dynamite. What's up, everybody? It is Flamin' Ricky DeReyes, right here on the AEW Dynamite review from June 7th, 2023. We got a lot of things to talk about right here on the Dynamite review. Of course, the big thing that we are going to be talking about is MJF and Adam Cole going face-to-face. Are we setting up ourselves for a future program between the two men, as well as Forbidden Door? We already had two matches announced this week. Of course, we have Kazuchika Okada, the Rainmaker himself, taking on Bryan Danielson at the Forbidden Door show. That's going to be absolutely insane. Plus, we got the rematch from Wrestle Kingdom this past January as Kenny Omega defends his IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship against Will Ospreay. We're going to be talking about that. We had video packages. Wow, and people are still complaining that we are getting these types of matches for Forbidden Door. But overall thoughts on Dynamite itself. I thought Dynamite was a great show. Dynamite definitely delivered 110% last night. And the matches that we got were absolutely insane, man. We had Orange Cassidy versus Swerve Strickland for the International Championship, which was a great opener. There were times in the match that I actually thought Swerve Strickland was actually going to be beating Orange Cassidy, but it looks like Orange Cassidy is going to be holding on to that title for a longer period of time. We also had the Blackpool Combat Club in action taking on Chaos, consisting of Rocky Romero of New Japan Pro Wrestling and Best Friends, that being, of course, Trent Beretta and Chuck Taylor. Great match nonetheless, as well as the announcement. Yes, the announcement of the first ever main event for the debut premiere episode of AEW Collision coming June 17th, and that match will be consisting of CM Punk and FTR. CMFTR has finally reunited, taking on Samoa Joe, Switchblade Jay White, and Juice Robinson of Bullet Club Gold. Well, Samoa Joe is not a part of Bullet Club Gold, but he's teaming up with members of Bullet Club Gold. We're going to be talking about that and my thoughts on this whole thing. Man, you know, it's so funny, man. You have people say Switchblade Jay White is already being underutilized. Meanwhile, he is in a main event match in a six-man tag team match involving CM Punk. So where are all those people now? I have absolutely no fucking clue. But we're going to be talking about Dynamite. Of course, we also had Jay White taking on Ricky Starks in the end with the help of the Guns. I'm going to be talking about that as well. But before I get on with all this craziness regarding AEW Dynamite, make sure to like and subscribe to the WrestleHavoc Podcast right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. And as the freaking referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Also, the WrestleHavoc Podcast is also available on audio platforms. It is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and Google Podcasts. So if you guys want to listen to the WrestleHavoc Podcast in audio format, it is available on all of those platforms. Plus, if you guys missed it, the Monday Night Raw review is up on the channel. I talk about Seth Rollins defending his World Heavyweight Championship against Damian Priest. A lot of people are talking about whether or not the Judgment Day is involving a lot of tension and possibly teasing a split when it comes to the Judgment Day. I honestly do not think that is the right decision to make, but we're going to be talking about that and much more on the Raw review. So if you guys haven't checked out the Raw review, the link will be in the description below. Also, an announcement, of course, with the debut of AEW Collision coming up June 17th. I, of course, am going to be covering AEW Collision right here on the WrestleHavoc Podcast. Collision is basically set to be AEW's true B show. I remember when Rampage first started and I started covering Rampage weekly. Over time, within like at least a year, I stopped covering Rampage because you guys know Rampage ended up being a skippable show at that point. But when it comes to AEW Collision, this show is definitely set up to be a big deal, and Collision is definitely possibly on the verge of being on par with Dynamite. So I'm going to be covering AEW Collision. Collision reviews will be coming June 17th right here on the WrestleHavoc Podcast. So be on the lookout for the AEW Collision review. All right, let's get into AEW Dynamite. Of course, the show kicks off, and it started to become a recurring thing on the show. Orange Cassidy kicks off this show. That's literally the first entrance on the show after the pyro goes off, and it's starting to become a little bit repetitive. I've been saying this on the channel for weeks now. You know, Orange Cassidy is great, but like he's been literally opening the show almost every week. Not every week, but almost every week. Of course, he defends his AEW International Championship against, of course, the leader of the Mogul Embassy. Of course, it was originally the Mogul Affiliates, but then he merged with the Embassy. Now it's the Mogul Embassy. Swerve Strickland. And overall, man, just like I said at the top of this review, this match was absolutely fire. Swerve Strickland, man, you know, I've been kind of critical on what they were doing with Swerve Strickland. Apparently, he was still feuding with Keith Lee, like, on Rampage, which I had absolutely no idea they were still feuding, but of course then they booked the Battle Royal. And of course Swerve and Orange Cassidy were the final two in the Blackjack Battle Royal at Double or Nothing last week. So that was a great final moments of the match. And honestly, Swerve looked really good in that match, and of course it granted him this rematch with Orange Cassidy. There were times in this match that I actually thought Swerve Strickland was actually going to be getting the win over Orange Cassidy. If there was the time to put the international title on Swerve Strickland or on a guy like Swerve Strickland, it could have easily been this match. But it looks like AEW kept that title around the waist of Orange Cassidy after this match. Let's go through the match right over here. Cassidy puts his hands in his pockets, of course, like he always does. We get an arm drag by Orange, but then Swerve ends up landing on his feet. We end up getting a back elbow by Cassidy, but then Swerve is in control. Cassidy applies a Majigatami on Swerve, which is a submission that he used on him. We get the head scissors by Orange Cassidy, but then Swerve counters a tornado DDT attempt. He then gets taken to the outside, but then Swerve ends up mocking Orange, putting his hands in his own pockets. After that, Swerve sends Orange to the barricade, and then Swerve drives his hand on Cassidy on the ring post. Swerve then goes for a right hand on Orange Cassidy, and then he sends Cassidy into the corner. He ends up going for a running uppercut on Cassidy, but then Swerve and Cassidy go to the outside. Orange then is on the shoulders of Swerve, and then on the outside, he ends up hitting a Hurricane Rana on the outside, which looked insane. That was a great spot over there. Orange ends up hitting a tope on Swerve. Once we're back into the ring, he ends up hitting a diving crossbody. After that, Swerve hits a right hand on Cassidy. Cassidy then gets taken to the apron. At this point, Swerve is on the middle rope. So is Orange. Both men exchange right hands, but then both block each other. At this point, both men drop each other face first onto the top turnbuckle, leaving them to the outside. Once we're back from commercial break once again, Cassidy ends up going for a couple of back elbows. After that, we get a kick by Swerve. We get a roll through by Swerve, but then he lands into a thrust kick by Orange Cassidy. Orange ends up going for the Stunt Dog Millionaire, but then Swerve misses the kick. After that, Swerve drops down Cassidy face first with a leaping flatliner. After that, we get a backslide by Orange Cassidy, and then we get a near fall. Then we get a tornado DDT by Orange Cassidy. After that, we get a cover by Orange and a near fall, but then Cassidy at this point is on the top. Swerve comes in, and Swerve hits a Death Valley driver on Cassidy onto the apron, which looked absolutely brutal. Swerve hits a series of boots onto the face of Cassidy. After that, he hits 3 boots to be exact. Cassidy ends up hitting a DDT on the floor, but then he takes Swerve back into the ring. At this point, Cassidy is on the top. He hits a diving DDT. There's so many fucking DDTs in this match, Jesus Christ. We get a cover by Cassidy and a near fall. Cassidy ends up going for the head scissors, and then we get a roll-up and another near fall. At this point, Prince Nana, of course being a part of the Mogul Embassy, is up on the apron. And after Prince Nana is up on the apron, Swerve, by accident, takes out Prince Nana. At this point, when Swerve ended up, taking out Prince Nana, I thought at this point the match was going to be over. Orange Cassidy ends up hitting the orange punch after that, and he hits the beach break, and we get a cover, and Swerve kicks out. Now, when Swerve kicked out, I was like, holy shit, they're going to take the belt off of Orange in this match. After that, Swerve is on the outside. Cassidy ends up going for a tope DDT, but then Swerve counters and hits a brainbuster. It looked like it was a brainbuster at least. He takes Cassidy back in the ring. Swerve misses a kick, and then we get a roll-up by Cassidy into near fall. Swerve then fakes Cassidy with the kick by kicking another kick after that, which looked pretty dope. So he hits the kick. Swerve goes to the top, and he ends up hitting the Swerve Stomp. But then Orange ends up going for a roll-up, and then Swerve goes for a roll-up, so we get a bunch of roll-up exchanges. After that, Orange gets the roll-up and retains the title in a fantastic opening match to kick off AEW Dynamite. Orange Cassidy wins retains the international title. After that, the Mogul Embassy come in and attack Orange Cassidy. So guys like, the Gates of Agony, Brian Cage, all those guys, they come in and attack Cassidy. After that, the lights go out, and Sting and Darby Allin are in the ring as soon as the lights go back up, basically having the Mogul Embassy to retreat the ring. So what are my overall thoughts on this match? You guys already know. This was a great opening match to kick off Dynamite. The fact that we got Swerve wrestling for a title match is great. I've always came on this show and talked about how great Swerve Strickland is. He could be a top-level heel in the future. I remember when he was in NXT doing the things with Hit Row back in 2021. I remember even tweeting it out. I believe it was the very first promo that Hit Row did back in NXT. I was like, dude, Swerve Strickland is going to be a future WWE champion. And, of course, that ended up not happening because Hit Row ended up getting released, and then they came back, but without Swerve because Swerve made his debut in AEW. Swerve is definitely going to be a future world champion in the future. If there was any time to put that international title on Swerve, it could have easily been on this match. But it's all right that Swerve lost because Swerve ended up looking strong in the end. And I believe near the end of that match, Orange Cassidy actually, Swerve, when he was going for his own roll-up, he actually had the tights of Cassidy, but then Cassidy, in retaliation, applied the tights as well, basically, getting the win. So Swerve definitely looked strong in this match. Could it be a scenario in which we end up getting a rematch by these two men? Maybe. I have absolutely no idea. But there's a lot of other guys that could easily take that title away from Orange Cassidy. There's two guys in particular besides Swerve that I actually think could be great candidates to take Cassidy, take Cassidy's international title. The first being Roosh. I mean, it's pretty obvious. The talent that man possesses is unlike anything that I have ever seen before. Roosh is definitely a candidate. The moment Roosh and Orange Cassidy ever go in the same ring together, you already know it's game over for Orange Cassidy, in my opinion at least. Also, Konosuke Takeshita. Konosuke Takeshita now would make more sense because now Konosuke Takeshita is a heel. If Konosuke Takeshita was still a babyface and he took the title away from Orange Cassidy, it wouldn't have made any sense. But now with Konosuke Takeshita garnering the heat that he does, I think you can get that heat much louder by having him beat Orange Cassidy for that international championship. But I'm only thinking long-term. We have absolutely no idea what AEW is going to do. For all we know, maybe AEW does not have a plan. I have absolutely no idea. But the story that they're telling with Orange Cassidy is constantly escaping his victories with a lot of roll-up attempts because of the fact that he has been defending his title almost every freaking week at this point. It is insane. But nonetheless, those two men definitely delivered a great match overall. After that, we got a video package. AEW was all over with video packages on this show. We had our first video package of Ricky Starks versus Switchblade Jay White, which is our main event on this show. After that, we had a video package of Kazuchika Okada versus Bryan Danielson at the Forbidden Door pay-per-view. Bryan Danielson, of course, is going to be on commentary for the Blackpool Combat Club versus New Japan Pro Wrestling's Chaos. Of course, Rocky Romero of New Japan will be basically teaming up with the Best Friends, and they're going to be, of course, forming Chaos. Chaos is, of course, Kazuchika Okada's faction in New Japan. And, of course, Rocky Romero and Trent Beretta were in a tag team called Roppongi Vice. So this was a great match nonetheless. Everybody was complaining about the fact that, oh my God, Forbidden Door, that match, the match between Kazuchika Okada and Bryan Danielson has no story behind it. Meanwhile, you had Bryan Danielson on commentary and in the video package that they aired basically gave you the whole freaking story of why this match is happening. Oh, yeah, it's because, for years, Kazuchika Okada was considered the best, and then I want to show Okada that he's not the best, that I'm the best wrestler in the world. That's basically the story, but people are still fucking complaining because they're so dumb. And even if AEW aired a video package on Dynamite, not Rampage, on Dynamite, people are still complaining, but it is what it is. It's fucking Forbidden Door. If you don't watch New Japan, that's okay. Just watch it. The match is going to be amazing. I personally do not watch New Japan, but I kind of follow a little bit of snippets of what I see in New Japan. Immediately, once I see Okada versus Bryan Danielson, I already know that the match is going to be fucking amazing. Because Bryan Danielson, any match Bryan Danielson is in, he is going to just deliver top-notch stuff. Like, just look at the Iron Man match that he had with MJF. MJF made Bryan Danielson look like $1 million, and Bryan Danielson made MJF look like $1 million. So, enough of the fucking complaining. It's absolutely ridiculous. But we got the Blackpool Combat Club taking on Chaos. This match was awesome. I absolutely loved it. Rocky Romero looked great, of course. The Blackpool Combat Club went over. It made total sense for them to go over. Of course, Bryan Danielson, as I stated earlier, is on commentary. Moxley gets the chair thrown at him immediately, and a brawl breaks loose. I don't even think the bell even rang. But Trent takes Yuta to the top. He hits a brainbuster. After that, the bell finally rings. After that, we get a pile driver on Yuta by Chuck Taylor. After that, we get a cover and a near fall when Yuta makes the save. Claudio ends up making the save, and then Trent sends Yuta to the barricade. Rocky Romero goes for a flying knee on Moxley onto the outside, but then Chuck Taylor takes out Claudio over the top rope. At this point, Chaos, the whole trio, is ganging up on Moxley. We then get a right hand by Chuck Taylor on Mox. Yuta then grabs the boot, but then Moxley ends up hitting the cutter on Chuck Taylor. We then get the double team by Yuta and Claudio. After that, Claudio then hits the double stomp on Chuck Taylor. We then get a cover by Yuta and a near fall. Once we're back from break, Yuta ends up going for a German suplex on Chuck Taylor. And then we get he runs into a knee strike by Chuck into the corner. Moxley and Trent tag in. After that, Trent ends up hitting the spear. And then we get a backdrop by Trent on Mox. Trent ends up going for the chop, but then Moxley hits a kick. At this point, Rocky Romero is on the top, and then he hits a crossbody on Moxley. Yuta ends up hitting a Hurricane Rana. Claudio comes in, and Rocky hits a Hurricane Rana of his own. After that, we get a double knee strike by both members of Roppongi Vice, that being Trent Beretta and Rocky Romero. After that, Trent is on the top rope. Rocky then drives his knee down, and then Trent hits the knee. We get a cover by Rocky and a near fall. Moxley ends up going for a spike pile driver attempt on Trent. Trent ends up reversing, and they end up going for the strong zero. After that, Claudio comes in and gets taken to the outside. And then we get the spinning kick by Rocky Romero on the midsection of Mox. He pushes Mox into the corner, and then we get a flying cross arm breaker by Rocky Romero on Moxley. After that, Trent, and this was the spot of the night in my opinion. This spot was fucking insane. Trent goes for the moonsault on the outside. But Claudio's on the outside, and it looks like he intended to hit Claudio. But Trent goes for the moonsault, and instead of hitting Claudio, he landed in a fucking uppercut by Claudio. It was unlike anything I've ever seen. And the shot of Claudio after he hit that uppercut, goddamn, man, that was insane, man. Nobody should be complaining about Claudio. In my opinion, Claudio is doing one of the best things of his whole career right now, joining the Blackpool Combat Club. Fantastic stuff. Great spot over there. Probably my favorite spot of the whole night. After that, Chuck Taylor comes in, but then Yuta ends up going for the Busaiku knee, which is Bryan Danielson's move. And Bryan Danielson absolutely gloated this. He loved this shit. Bryan Danielson on commentary is just flat out entertaining. After that, we get repeated elbows by Yuta, but then Mox ends up applying the Bulldog choke. Rocky Romero taps out, and the Blackpool Combat Club win the match. After that, Yuta just continues to drive his knees on, or his elbows, I should say, on Chuck Taylor. And after that, the Blackpool Combat Club just stand tall. And yeah, that was that. Overall, man, this was a great match nonetheless. The Blackpool Combat Club looked absolutely fantastic. And Bryan Danielson on commentary just only makes it that much better. After that, Hangman Page and the Young Bucks, more like the Hung Bucks, that being Hangman Page and the Young Bucks, are backstage. Hangman Page says, oh yeah, the Blackpool Combat Club, BCC, they had a great match. Didn't see it. Next week, they will be in Washington, D.C. Of course, Washington, D.C. is the birthplace of AEW, the place where Dynamite began. Anarchy in the Arena, they weren't done with that. And they offer a challenge next week, and they can do it without Bryan Danielson or Konosuke Takeshita. Bryan Danielson, on commentary, accepts the challenge, and next week it will be the Young Bucks taking on the Blackpool Combat Club, consisting of Jon Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and Wheeler Yuta. So that's going to be absolutely insanity, in my opinion. After that, we got another video package consisting of Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega. Where's the story? Says a lot of the dumbasses on social media. Meanwhile, if you watched Wrestle Kingdom, clearly the story was there, and they flat out told you the story on this video package. Will Ospreay lost in the Tokyo Dome, lost the U.S. title to Kenny Omega, and Will Ospreay wants revenge. That is the story. So shut the fuck up about it. Jesus Christ. Every year, it's going to be a common occurrence when Forbidden Door comes around every June. Where's the story? It's going to be hilarious, man. Meanwhile, Forbidden Door, it only caters to hardcores, and it does only cater to hardcores for this particular pay-per-view. And it says, oh, this is not for casual fans. You're damn right. It's not for casual fans. And a lot of fans do not watch New Japan Pro Wrestling. But Jesus Christ, you can't deny the fact that Forbidden Door in Toronto is damn near a sellout. Almost 12,000 people. Already 12,000 people are already in that venue. And I believe it's in the Scotiabank Arena. So the fact that people are downplaying this as going to be a failure, I mean, I have no idea what these people are smoking, but Jesus Christ, Forbidden Door is damn near sold out. Just like last year, Forbidden Door is this much close to a sold-out arena in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega, if you guys did not watch their Wrestle Kingdom match, absolutely check it out. They're going to be delivering another classic this year at Forbidden Door. After that, we got an MJF segment. Yes, MJF is finally on Dynamite for the first time since Double or Nothing. So MJF, of course, he cuts a promo on Colorado. He basically buries the whole town. He says this place sucks, and if anybody knows he is about being bored, it's him. There is no competition for him in this company because, he says because, and then the crowd is just chanting, you suck. And then all of a sudden, MJF replies, your mother swallows. Because nobody is on the level of the devil. And what happens is Adam Cole comes out. MJF, and this is and everybody's been saying this on podcasts, but this is starting to become a sin at this point. Every time when Adam Cole makes his entrance, of course, he does the boom and then the Adam Cole bay. You, as a wrestling fan, you have to at least experience a Adam Cole bay. It's so fun doing it. And this rat bastard, MJF, just literally interrupts right before Adam Cole's going to do the bay. He interrupts Adam Cole, which, you fucking asshole. You asshole. MJF is well, if it isn't Adam Cole bay, he's excited. Finally, some newsworthy competition for the champ. He's actually a big fan of his. Seriously. When CM Punk left him when he was a kid, he thought his fandom of pro wrestling was over. And he turned on the TV, and he came across a little TV show called Ring of Honor. And he points to the crowd and asks them, you've never heard of Ring of Honor before? He ain't gonna lie. He thought Ring of Honor sucked. Classic MJF. I mean, I haven't been watching Ring of Honor recently, but at this point, I only watch the pay-per-views, but he said Ring of Honor sucks. That was hilarious. MJF says he thought Ring of Honor sucked. It's filled with indie jabronis. But right when he was going to change the channel, he saw a guy like Adam Cole. He was instantly hooked. And when he started training as a pro wrestler, he got as much of his tapes as he could get. He watched Adam Cole in his days in CZW, which is, of course, Combat Zone Wrestling. He watched him go to every top independent promotion and become the hottest free agent in pro wrestling. He watched him go to Florida and shock the system. A nice little nod right there to, of course, Undisputed Era and NXT. He says that he was Shawn Michaels' hand-picked guy. He became the greatest world champion in that company, and that is undisputed. I did it wrong, but whatever. That was undisputed. He was a mark for Adam Cole, and he followed in his footsteps. He went to CZW, and he became a top name there, and, of course, he signed on to here, that being AEW. Deep down, he knew Adam Cole would make the jump, and when he did, he and him will have a rivalry of a lifetime. Two generational talents, MJF versus Adam Cole. But then, this guy showed up. And of course, he points to Adam Cole, and he asks Adam Cole, what happened to you, man? He used to be the Panama Playboy. Now he is the Panama Game Boy. He sits at home playing Twitch, hiding from the sun, looking like a virgin golem. And Britt leaves the house with his balls firmly in her purse. Didn't he used to have the body and physique of a world champion? Now, no offense, he is so frail, he makes crack whores jealous. He's not hitting the same way he used to, but it's not his fault. You got people on the internet saying that this company is not showcasing him properly. And those people will say, to those people, he will say, you don't have a goddamn clue what you're talking about. And if you actually watch the actual feed of the show when he said that, TBS actually censored that. This company has done everything to make him cool. The lights, the music, the cool t-shirts, the big match opportunities, the girl, and his own reality show. But you know what they do to make Adam Cole feel cool? They ring the frickin' bell. Where did he get that from? Of course, it was when Adam Cole verbally buried Karrion Kross on the microphone a couple of years ago on NXT, and Karrion Kross, unfortunately, has never recovered from that. But after that, MJF was like, sound familiar? Greatest singles dog collar match of all time. Greatest four-way match of all time. And greatest, of course, Iron Man match of all time. The world champion, the best pro wrestler on God's green earth. He's beaten every single top guy these people thought were on his level. But what makes Adam Cole any different? And he says, before you answer that, he read a nasty rumor of him online. The reason why he made the jump here to AEW is because a certain individual in Titan Tower, of course, that is WWE headquarters, didn't think he had the potential. And that name was Vince McMahon. Big fan, by the way. What a fucking asshole this guy is. You know, when he heard that, the old man, that being MJF, he thought the old man lost his marbles. How do you not see top guy in Adam Cole? You know what he thinks now? He thinks Vince was right. Adam Cole then gets the mic. And he's like, really? That is the best you got. The guy that can verbally destroy people on the microphone. Now, if you really think about it, MJF kind of did verbally destroy Adam Cole in that promo right there. Instead, he comes across as a toxic social media troll. There's lots of things he can comment on, but he's pretty sure that Britt could beat the hell out of him. What is his obsession with other people's relationships? First off, it was Brian, and now it is him. He understands that his fiancée left him, but he can't hold a relationship if his life depended on it. Shots fired right there. After that, he finally figured it out. MJF is world class. He is a world class douchebag. His body, you know why he brings it up? It's because of his body of work. The matches he does, the interviews he's done, the world championship reigns that he's had. Max, get real. You can't touch me. But if he really wants to go down that road, how about they go to the back and they both piss in a couple of cups and see who's natural and who's not? That was hilarious to hear, man. Literally. He was like, oh yeah, let's see who's natural and who's not. I mean, MJF literally all the time posts on Instagram every time, like just him, like just going to the gym and just becoming a beast. Like MJF, I genuinely believe is natural, but that was a weird line right there. You know, let's see who's natural and who's not. Yeah, I thought so. And Adam Cole says he appreciates everything, you know, that you said about him, but they are nothing alike. For 15 years, he's traveled the globe and shared locker room after locker room. This one included. Those boys and girls in the back, they respect him because he know he's been a bad guy in the back or in the back in the day, but as a wrestler and as a man, they respect the human being Adam Cole. He swears on his life, though, that there isn't a single person, not only in this locker room, but everybody in this arena who respects MJF. And if he asked anyone if they thought that MJF was a good guy, they would laugh at his face. They think he is selfish. They think he is lazy. And he does the bare minimum to collect a paycheck and hold that world championship. He speaks for everyone. Nobody respects him. MJF says, how about he cries to mommy about it? And he says, that's enough. That's talking tough that's a lot of talking tough from Keith Lee's manager. Yes, he said Keith Lee's manager. If you guys do not know the story, apparently there was a creative pitch right when, like this was like right in the end when Adam Cole's contract was running up and he had that meeting with Vince. Apparently there was a pitch that Adam Cole on the main roster could be Keith Lee's manager. Yeah. How about that? Adam Cole says MJF creates a false narrative to hide to the fact that he is a coward of a champion. If he was a real champion, he would tell him to shut his mouth and fight him. But he's not doing that, so he's a coward. It's not worth it because he knows he's wasting his breath. But if he remembers anything from their little conversation, remember this. He won't fight him because he is better than him, and they know it. MJF then gets pissed off, and he says he will wrestle him and beat his ass. And Adam Cole after that does the Adam Cole Bay and says, looks like we got a match. Okay, let's talk about this glorious segment that transpired last night on Dynamite between Adam Cole and MJF. This was great stuff right here. Now, I will say this. I'm happy that we're getting this feud, but at the same time, I'm not happy we're getting this feud. Now, don't get me wrong. I like Adam Cole, and I like MJF. If there's any guy that can beat MJF for the World Championship, it is a guy like Adam Cole. I've constantly said this on the Dynamite review. But I believe that if they're really going full-fledged with this feud, I think they're doing it a little bit too early. I don't know about you guys, but I do not see this match happening at Forbidden Door. And the reason why I say that is because next week on Dynamite, we are going to be getting a one-on-one match between both Adam Cole and MJF, and that match is going to be an eliminator match. And you guys know my thoughts on an eliminator match. It's basically the same thing as a championship contenders match. You know, the champion wrestles the soon-to-be challenger if he beats the champion, and if he beats the champion, he's granted a title shot on a future date. I do not like that concept. I constantly trash WWE about it. I constantly trash AEW about it. Both companies do that. I fucking hate it. But I don't think they're going to risk MJF losing because MJF should not lose at all. And we know damn well MJF is not going to be losing that title anytime soon. So could it be a scenario in which they did this promo to kind of tease a future feud in the future and not do it immediately now and have Chris Jericho, maybe of all people, cost Adam Cole the match? We have absolutely no idea, but I think, you know, this could be a long-term program that both of these men can have, but you're risking two of your top guys, you know, at least your top babyface and your top heel to possibly lose a match. I know for a fact they're not going to make MJF lose. This match is either not going to happen next week, like it's advertised to happen, but some bullshit happens, or this match is going to be ending up in a fuck finish. We have absolutely no idea what's going to be happening, but I genuinely believe this match, you know, this feud is going on a little bit way too early. I think, you know, it would be better off if they did it maybe roughly around All Out or All In, maybe Full Gear, because there's a lot of guys that MJF could feud with. This is not a scenario in which MJF has nobody. There could easily be guys that MJF could wrestle with. You know, is MJF even going to wrestle at Forbidden Door? We have absolutely no idea. I mean, I had a pitch that, hey, if there's any guy that, you know, MJF could wrestle with at Forbidden Door, it doesn't even have to be against a New Japan guy. It could be against an AEW guy, and that guy could easily be Eddie Kingston because, of course, Eddie Kingston and MJF are polar opposites from one another. Not only that, you know, Eddie Kingston loves Japanese pro wrestling. MJF doesn't. And maybe you could tell the story of Eddie Kingston fighting for the honor of, you know, Japanese pro wrestling, all that stuff. But that is just a pitch I had. But we have absolutely no idea, man. We're going to see what they do. But I'm very interested because we got an eliminator match next week. And I'm kind of iffy about that because you are definitely risking the momentum of not only MJF, but Adam Cole as well. I do not want to see Adam Cole lose a match. Meanwhile, you're building Adam Cole further up the card. I don't know what they're going to be doing with that, but nonetheless, the back and forth verbal battle between both Adam Cole and MJF was pure perfection, in my opinion. I definitely loved this segment, and one of the reasons I really love AEW so much is the segments that they have and the promos that their wrestlers cut. Yeah, there's some guys that are not really that good in promos, but if you watch a WWE show, even if, you know, Triple H is running things, now I'm going to exclude guys like Roman Reigns, Jimmy J. Uso, Sami Zayn, those guys, but like on the lower tier, you know, you have a lot of people that are not really the best in promos, and there's a lot of people that are good in promos, but when it comes to AEW, all the time, everything feels genuine in my opinion, and that is exactly what I really like, and that is what this segment definitely showed me. I don't want to put it on par with the CM Punk and MJF verbal battle that happened on that Thanksgiving Dynamite 2 years ago, but I mean, it's definitely up there, and it was definitely a great segment, but it's as clear as day, MJF definitely won that battle. But nonetheless, this was a great feud, but I don't think they should be doing this feud now. I think it's something that they should say further down the line, but at the same time, you do not want to see Adam Cole feuding with Chris Jericho for like how many months, only to derail his momentum. I have absolutely no idea what they're going to be doing, but I'm curious, and I'm definitely invested to see what they're doing. All right, moving on. We got the Hardys backstage, of course, with Isaiah Cassidy. They now, own Ethan Page. Ethan Page is now under contract with them, and basically they're getting retaliation for Ethan Page. But Matt Hardy instead was like, hey, you can, you made my life a living hell, but I'm trying to make you a better man. So whatever. Nobody cares. After that, we got Jungle Hook versus La Facción Ingobernable, that being Drilistico and Preston Vance in a Texas Tornado tag team match. Overall, this was a match I did not give a single shit about, but I mean, this match was just absolute insanity. I mean, you had Preston Vance like just bleed profusely in this match, and the biggest criticism that a lot of people have, and rightfully so, of AEW is the usage of blood. I mean, I love the fact that they use blood in pro wrestling, and especially in AEW. But there are some times, man, where they just overuse the blood so much. Like, dude, chill the fuck out. And this, keep in mind, this is for a match that not a lot of people watched Dynamite for, in my opinion. LFI is great. I love La Facción Ingobernable. I love Jungle Hook, but they are not, the main attractions for this show. You had Preston fucking Vance, like, literally, I don't know how deep he bladed, but like this man was bleeding like all over the fucking place, like well in like 5 minutes into the match. It was insane, but it is what it is. But let's go through the match. It was a relatively short match. It went through one commercial break, I believe. Drilistico and Preston Vance take them out before the match even starts. Preston takes out Hook onto the outside. Preston has a chain. Hook and Preston Vance fight it out in the crowd once they're back from break. Drilistico ends up going for a double stomp on Jack Perry on the apron, but then Hook grabs the chain. He jumps off the barricade and hits Preston with the chain. Vance is busted open. Not a shocker. Vance then drives Hook onto the barricade, but then Jack enters the fray. Drilistico then takes out Jungle Boy off the top. Both Preston Vance and Drilistico try to go for a double choke slam, but then Hook ends up hitting a T-bone on Drilistico. After that, he hits a discus lariat by that being Preston Vance on Hook. Vance and Hook are on the apron. Jack Perry has a chair and hits it onto the head of Preston Vance. After that, Hook hits the T-bone through the table. Yeah, T-bone through the table. After that, Jack Perry ends up hitting a DDT on Drilistico on the chair. Jose from La Facción Ingobernable interferes. And then Hook is behind Jose. He applies the Red Rum, and then Jack Perry applies the Snare Trap at the same time on Drilistico, and Jungle Hook end up winning this Texas Tornado tag match. Again, this was not a bad match, but like I don't know, man. That blade job by Preston Vance, I don't know about that, man. When it comes to like matches that not a lot of people care about, and it was the same thing with, I believe it was a women's match with Ruby Soho involved. It was a women's tag team match, and it was like a street fight. It was involving Ruby Soho, Willow Nightingale, and I believe Anna Jay and Ty Mello. Bro, Ruby Soho was bleeding so much in that match. I'm like, bro, you're like bleeding profusely on a match on a fucking episode of Rampage. It was very similar the year prior with that similar street fight that they had at Daly's place. But like, bro, AEW needs to relax with the usage of blood. Please. Jon Moxley as well. I'm a big fan of Jon Moxley, and it's a running joke that he bleeds a lot, but sometimes it's like every week he would bleed like crazy. But lower the usage of blood, please. All right. We got Tony Khan's weekly announcements. Like every fucking week we got an announcement by Tony Khan. Tony Khan, of course, made his announcement of the AEW Collision main event June 17th. And the match is official now. There was a lot of reports on what this match was going to be. There was reports of CM Punk wanting to work with Chris Jericho, and then it shifted to CM Punk versus Samoa Joe. And then it shifted to CM Punk feuding against Jay White. But we have it. It's official. We have our main event for the debut episode of AEW Collision. And it will be a trios match. It will be the Ring of Honor World TV Champion, Samoa Joe, teaming up with Bullet Club's Gold's Switchblade Jay White. Jesus Christ, I am tongue-tied. Bullet Club Gold's Switchblade Jay White and Juice Robinson taking on CM Punk and FTR. Yes, CMFTR is finally they're finally reuniting together. That is absolutely awesome to see. What are my thoughts on this match? Now, we did hear a lot of reports of course, CM Punk wanting to work with Samoa Joe and kind of reignite their feud. I personally thought it was going to be a one-on-one match between CM Punk and Samoa Joe. But maybe with the involvement of Samoa Joe, because if you really think about it, Samoa Joe being involved with Bullet Club Gold, I mean, Bullet Club Gold and Samoa Joe have nothing to do with one another. So it's very interesting that they got Samoa Joe partnering with Jay White and Juice Robinson. But the interesting thing is that could they set up a future program with CM Punk and Samoa Joe? Honestly, I'd be 100% down for that, because that was something when CM Punk won the World Championship last year. One of the feuds that I definitely wanted to see was Samoa Joe versus CM Punk. And maybe we are on the verge of getting that. But what's interesting is that we also have FTR teaming up with CM Punk, of course. CMFTR is now finally reunited. I came on this show, and I still stand by what I said for weeks prior. CM Punk should return as a heel. If there's any indication of what happened last week on Dynamite when Tony Khan announced the return of CM Punk, there was a lot of mixed reactions when it comes to the announcement of CM Punk. The AEW audience is not stupid. They are not stupid. They know what happened back in September at All Out about the whole media scrum incident and the brawl that happened afterward. The crowd is not stupid. CM Punk 100%. Most likely he's going to get a positive reaction at United Center. But when it comes to all those Canadian dates that Collision is listed for, Punk is definitely going to be getting a mixed reaction. And whether or not those are going to be more boos rather than cheers, who knows? But if there's, what I feel like they should do is kind of open the show with CM Punk cutting a promo and then having this be the actual main event, which I definitely do see being the case. But when it comes to CM Punk, man, I think it's definitely obvious CM Punk should come in as a heel. I do not think, CM Punk should be a babyface in any way, shape, or form. Now, it's very weird because you got him teaming up with FTR, and right now FTR are full-fledged babyfaces. We're just going to have to wait and see what they do there, but again, CM Punk should be a heel. But the match is official. We will be getting CMFTR taking on Samoa Joe, Jay White, and Juice Robinson for the first ever episode of Collision at United Center, and I'm 100% down for that. It's going to be a great night, in my opinion, and hopefully Collision ends up being a success, because at the end of the day, I really want this show to succeed. I don't want this show to be another Rampage. I want this show to be a legitimate show and have this show be on par with Dynamite. So this main event is announced, and it's going to be taking place June 17th. All right. After that, we got Konosuke Takeshita in action, of course. Konosuke Takeshita is starting to become a heat magnet along with Don Callis. He faces off with the Jobber. We get a bunch of fuck you Callis chants. Takeshita ends up going for a running knee strike, and we get a cover, and he wins the match. After that, Don Callis gets the microphone, and he says he has something to say, and of course those boos are really loud. And unlike last week, he will be heard. Takeshita ends up speaking in Japanese, and Don Callis says he is here to tell the truth on Kenny Omega. Everything that Kenny Omega has in his life is because of him. It's all Kenny's fault. Everything the Elite has is because of him. Kenny will be beat Will Ospreay because of him. Kenny Omega has been like a cancer in his body. And what do you do with cancer? You cut it out. He and his family are going to cut the Elite out of this company for good. So it was basically the same promo that he cut last week on Dynamite. And AEW is definitely playing into a lot of those boos that Don Callis has been getting. Bro, it should be a competition every week. Who gets the louder boos, Dominic Mysterio or Don Callis? I don't know, man. Both of those guys are absolute heat magnets, and you love to see it, man. You know, if somebody's getting legitimately like booed out of the building because of a situation that happened in the storyline, you can tell the crowd is invested in what you were doing. After that, Alex Marvez is backstage in the locker room of Christian Cage, and Christian Cage comes in and he says at Double or Nothing, Arn Anderson cost him the TNT championship. He is the uncrowned TNT champion, and it's now time to take something away from him. And by the way, his son got him an early Father's Day present. And he opens the door of the locker room, and it shows that Arn Anderson's son, Brock Anderson, has been attacked by Luchasaurus. So we're going to wait and see what they do there, but it looks like this feud with Christian Cage and Wardlow is not over. After that, we got the TBS Championship match with Chris Statlander defending her title against Anna Jay. So it looks like it's going to be a common occurrence every week with Chris Statlander defending her TBS Championship. So both lock up. We get a side headlock takeover by Statlander. We get the leg scissors by Anna Jay. We get a side headlock by Statlander, then by Anna Jay. We get a side headlock takeover once again by Chris Statlander. Statlander ends up going for a front face lock. We get a side slam by Statlander. After that, Anna Jay retreats to the outside, but then Anna Jay goes back into the ring. Statlander then goes to the outside, but then Matt Menard goes for his first of many distractions on Chris Statlander throughout the majority of this whole match. Later on in the match, once we're back from commercial break, we get an uppercut into the corner by Statlander. She ends up hitting a kick and hits a power slam. After that, we get a cover and a near fall. Statlander goes to the top. At this point, Matt Menard is on the apron once again, but then Anna Jay drops Statlander down. Anna then drops down Statlander face first onto the mat, and then we get a cover and a near fall. Anna Jay ends up applying a sleeper, but then Statlander escapes. Statlander ends up hitting the discus lariat. At this point, Matt Menard is on the apron once again. After that, Anna Jay goes for the roll-up, applies the Queen Slayer, but then Statlander gets up and drops her down. Then she ends up going for a lariat and a backbreaker combination. Statlander, after that, ends up hitting the Tombstone Piledriver, and we get a cover, and Statlander retains the TBS Championship. Now, one thing to note throughout the majority of this whole match is that you had shots of Taya Valkyrie watching Chris Statlander wrestle in all of her matches, and it looks like they're going to be having Taya Valkyrie and Chris Statlander feud for the TBS Championship, which honestly is definitely a great position for Taya Valkyrie because she's very good at what she does. And honestly, you know, it gives something for Chris Statlander to do because you can't just have Chris Statlander be the TBS champion and have her just defend her title week by week by week. You really need to give her a program, and I feel like having Chris Statlander a program with Taya Valkyrie for the TBS title definitely is a step in the right direction when it comes to not only the direction of the TBS championship, but the direction of not only Chris Statlander, but also Taya Valkyrie. So everything was good here. Pretty good match overall. Not that long of a match, not the best match, but Chris Statlander ends up retaining the TBS championship. After that, Toni Storm backstage, of course, she is the current AEW Women's Champion, beating Jamie Hayter in a relatively short match. I don't even know if you want to call it a match because, of course, Jamie Hayter had to relinquish her title via a injury, but she ended up dropping it to Toni Storm. She talks about the four-way on Rampage for the number one contendership for the women's title, and they will be watching because the winner will be facing the greatest AEW Women's Champion that ever lived, and I believe that will be happening next week on Dynamite. After that, we got our main event. We got Switchblade Jay White taking on Absolute Ricky Starks. This is, of course, a rematch from the match that they had on Dynamite a couple of weeks prior. Now, going into that feud, you would honestly thought that they were to have this match at Double or Nothing, but instead, both of those men were on the Battle Royal. So, overall thoughts on this match. This wasn't a bad match whatsoever. Yes, we did get interference by two men, and I'll talk about those two men later on, but we're just going to wait and see what they are going to be doing later on. In the future, of course, Jay White is going to be involved in that trios match on the debut episode of Collision. But let's go through the match. Both men fight it out on the ramp. Starks goes after Jay White. Starks then clotheslines Jay White onto the outside, and then we get a chop by Starks. Starks continues to work on Jay White, but then he hits a backdrop on Starks on Jay White. After that, Jay White goes up to the ramp, and Starks runs to Jay White while Starks is like literally moving around the steel steps. Then Jay White fights back. We get a knee by Starks, but then Starks wants to throw White onto the outside. Meanwhile, White goes for the thumb onto the eye of Starks. We then get a back elbow by Jay White, but then Starks reverses Jay White and hits a suplex. Once we're back from break, we ended up getting a chop by Jay White, but then he goes for a series of chops of his own. Starks fights back, and then he tries to go for the Tornado DDT. Jay White then counters, landing Starks onto the top rope. Jay ends up hitting a superplex, but then we get a cover by White and near fall. After that, Jay White looms, and he tries to go for the Blade Runner, but then Starks tries to fight back. White ends up sending Starks to the corner, but then Starks escapes. Then after that, Starks ends up hitting a lariat on Jay White after that. And then we get a back elbow by Starks, and he hits the Tornado DDT. We then get a cover and a near fall, but then we get a cover again by Starks after that, and a kick out. Starks tries to go for the Rochambeau, but then White counters into the Uranagi. Then both men exchange slaps. We get a chop by White and then a chop by Starks. We get a kick by White, but then Starks tries to go for the spear. Instead, he lands into a knee. Jay White tries to go for the Blade Runner, but then he ends up getting countered by Starks. But then Starks manages to hit the spear on Jay White. And then he hits the Rochambeau. But when he hit that Rochambeau on Jay White actually knocked down the referee. So the referee is down. And what happens is the Guns, yes, Alston and Colton Gunn are in the ring. And they end up hitting the 310 to Yuma on Ricky Starks. And then Jay White I believe he didn't see it, but he comes in, he hits the Blade Runner. It looked like he could have easily gone for the cover, but instead he didn't. Jay White wanted to finish the shit on his own, so he ended up hitting the Blade Runner on Ricky Starks, and we get a cover, and Jay White beats Ricky Starks in the center of the ring. Overall thoughts on this match. This was a pretty good main event for Dynamite. For all the people that are saying, Jay White is, being underutilized. I have no fucking idea what you guys are watching. Look, that is a valid argument with a lot of the guys that came from WWE. For example, Keith Lee right now. Yes, he's been a World Tag Team Champion in AEW, but what has he been doing? What is he doing now? What is Keith Lee doing now? He's doing absolutely nothing. So I could definitely see that argument for a guy like Keith Lee. But when it comes to when it comes to Switchblade Jay White, bro, they know, and I constantly say the same shit over and over. They know the caliber of the talent that Jay White has. Jay White, I said this when he first came in. Jay White, give it at least, I don't know, maybe a year, a little over a year. Jay White will be a world champion. Period. Jay White will be a world champion. And the matches that he is in, like he's literally right now in a program with Ricky Starks, and he's going to be in the very first main event of AEW Collision. He's going to be teaming up with, of course, Juice Robinson and Bullet Club Gold. I mean, he's a part of Bullet Club. What the fuck am I talking about? He's teaming with Juice Robinson and Samoa Joe, wrestling against FTR and CM Punk. If that is not a great honor, I don't know what the fuck is. So they're definitely taking care very well of Jay White. Now, when it comes to the Guns interfering in this match, that is very weird because, yes, we did have FTR help out Ricky Starks at Double or Nothing, and of course they were in some little segment that happened on Dynamite last week. And we know that FTR took the AEW World Tag Team titles away from the Gun Club. Could this be a scenario if the Gun Club are the newest members of Bullet Club Gold? Honestly, I expected a little bit better, but I do not know if they are the newest members of Bullet Club Gold. Now, Bullet Club Gold right now only has 2 members. It's pretty much safe to say that we are going to be getting an expansion of Bullet Club Gold, very similar to Judgment Day. Judgment Day 100% is going to be expanding. But the Guns, I don't know about that for sure, man. I do not believe the Guns are the newest members of Bullet Club Gold. And if they are, we'll just have to wait and see. Of all people, the Guns, I don't know. But they're definitely going to be expanding Bullet Club Gold. And Jay White, of course, definitely got the win over Ricky Starks. We're just going to have to wait and see what they do. But, of course, when it comes to Switchblade Jay White, our focus is shifting over to June 17th for Collision, in which he's going to be a part of that trios match against CM Punk and FTR. So, overall, this was a great match. The finish was a little weird with the involvement of the Guns. I don't know about the Guns being a part of Bullet Club Gold, but we're just going to have to wait and see at the end of the day. But yeah, that was my Dynamite review from June 7th, 2023. Overall thoughts on this show. I thought this was a great show, a great episode of Dynamite nonetheless. Of course, we are on the road to Forbidden Door, man. This summer for AEW is going to be absolutely insane. We got the debut of Collision, which is going to be a new 2-hour weekly show on TNT for AEW. We got Forbidden Door, and then we got All In at Wembley Stadium, in which their tickets are selling very, very, very well. They're close to selling 70,000 seats at Wembley Stadium in the UK. We got All Out, and then we got Grand Slam. Like, it's going to be a big, big, big summer for AEW, and this episode of Dynamite was great nonetheless. But, of course, all eyes are focused on Collision, and all eyes are focused on Forbidden Door. But yeah, that was my Dynamite review from June 7th, 2023. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for notifications, and be on the lookout for more videos right here on the WrestleHavoc Podcast, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the freaking referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. And as always, it is Flamin' Rick, Ricky DeRays from the WrestleHavoc Podcast, signing out. I'll see you guys later.